Hi and welcome back. This is Bill, and in this video I'm going to do a follow-up on the EZX called the Classic for EZDrummer. Now I talked about this 2 days ago and did an example of how you'd use it in Studio One, and I really only demonstrated one of the drum sets. I've gotten quite a bit of feedback on that, and people have asked me if I could show or demonstrate some of the other drum kits that are included with the Classic. And I really like this set because it uses the Glenn Johns mic technique, which gives a great big drum sound, but with we're only using 5 channels if we look at the mixer. And I talked about this in the previous video. So let's get started by looking at the Noble and Cooley, the default set, and we'll go through and just play some of the audition with the grooves. Right now we're set on a tempo of 90. All right, so that's the first set, the default set. There's quite a bit of ring on the snare on that, which I think can be really useful. And we'll also come back and do a little bit up tempo and go through these again. But right now, let's take a look at the second set. This is an alternative version of the Noble and Cooley kit. Now for these, you can see I've got the bleed control set on. Most of these are set almost identical, or they're almost all set to 0 here, with just a slight adjustment here. Panning, I did this as I described yesterday. I'm using what I would consider the standard Glenn Johns panning setting, where I've got this pan 50% to the right, and I've got this mic over here panned all the way to the left. So I'm going to leave it set that way for all of the examples here. You can notice that the snare has a little bit less ring than it did on the default kit. Of course, this is completely natural sounds here. I haven't done any additional processing to this at all. Now let's take a look at the Yamaha kit after it loads up, which takes just a few seconds. Well, if anything, it sounds really tight. This really does sound like a recording kit, and you know that that would work great under lots of different kinds of songs. Now, this Craviotto kit has a whole different feel to it. So let's take a listen to this. Great resonance, really deep sound to that kit, and the bass has got a lot you could work with if you're going to do some processing on that. I think all of these do. Now, I'm going to do this again. We're going to go back to the default kit, but we're going to pick something that's a little bit faster. Now we'll go back to the alternative Noble and Cooley. All right, now let's take a look at the Yamaha again. All right, now let's move on to the Craviato set. All right, and the last thing I want to do is I'm going to choose a little bit different tempo of 112 here. We're going to use the Noble and Cooley alternative kit, and we'll just use a simple beat here. And I want to just show you or give you an example of how this would respond to processing, like if you add a little bit of compression or some color to it. And to do that, I'm going to bring in the magnetic plug-in from Nomad Factory. So let's get this playing back. So the cool thing about this is you can get a great big sound by doing nothing more than some simple bus compression with a little bit of a little bit of tape warmth added to it, and you get a great big drum sound using only this small selection of mics. So I hope you enjoyed this. You have a better understanding of what's available in this new EZX called the Classic for EZDrummer. I'm certainly enjoying it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again in another video very soon.